and
Okay.
it is now.
All right. Perfect. How'd you make out with those things from yesterday? It was pretty easy to get those plugged in.
Well, see, there's some stuff about it that I think you're going to like a little more.
Oh, okay.
All
Tell me
right,
more.
can you see my screen?
Let's see. Okay, I'm all set. And I can see your screen.
All right. Well, if you guys are ready, I'll go on ahead and hop into us working through. So we're just going to go through a
Donna,
little.
everybody.
The what?
Just call it Donna in for
Oh,
the
sorry.
meeting.
Gotcha.
But go ahead.
Yeah, if you guys are ready, we'll just start walking through the sales process for what's configured right now, and obviously where we're going. If there's any, I don't know, we'll work on like things that we're going to be working on with like the merges and some stuff like that. So we'll briefly go through some of the pricing console stuff specifically for numbers that you're going to want to pull.
Okay.
All right. And okay, so obviously, I mean, I wasn't going to go through recreating an org because I mean, you guys already know how to do that. But I did. There's certain informational pieces that are not in here that are not filled out. Obviously, because we want to do a little more like the lazy salesperson kind of run through. So we have this in here. We are missing a primary contact. We're missing an address, and we're missing a doing business as.
Yep.
So we're going to create a prospect. Now, the first thing that shows up is sales entities. Sales entity records are your how you guys want to, like the commission for a salesperson or things like that. So whenever we go through your users, getting your security stuff set up and things like that, I like to leave that for them as well because those are set up. You can set them up as a per user or things like that. So we want to make sure it's nice and custom there. But we're going to save anyway. So we're going to create our prospect. And it's going to create the workspace. And so from here, continuing to fill in information, we're going to go to the client master first. And so in here, we obviously have some of the missing information there. So the very first thing that, let's just say that the salesperson just wanted to submit immediately. So they would try to click submit, and the first issue is going to be a contract type. They do need to specify which contract type. So let's just say this is an ASO bronze for right now, and we'll try to submit again. And we also run into another couple issues. So the first one is the AKA field is required. The AKA field is your doing business as field on the org.
Okay.
That's a hard error on the org. So Patrick, I went through some of our much older pieces, and we are able to they're not going to show up as red, but you will not be able to submit and push the client master here. We won't be able to use this workflow based on hard errors that exist on the organization, and we can add more in there for you.
Okay.
Which is, I know that was one of the issues you were running into yesterday. So I added
hard errors.
The what?
So what we were concluding was that we had to add hard error information to the organizational detailed other info tab.
Right, because we weren't able to add those hard errors to the organization itself.
Right.
And right here,
right?
I'm sorry?
That still stands, or are you saying we have an update?
So it does, but there is an update to it. And what it is that we are able to create those hard error type effects on the client master. So it still requires the fields in the same location, all the same to be filled out. However, it's found on the client master using the client master as a hub for that.
Got it.
Right. And so part of that, so I only put two up there. So for instance, a primary contact and a doing business as. So I wanted you to see how that works and interacts in the system before adding any more. If you want if you want, I can add those other fields, or they've already been created on the org other info. We can leave them there, or we can continue with this kind of a method right here.
If we put it on the client master, that means we are now in prospect mode, correct?
Correct, and we cannot get out of prospect mode until these hard errors would be, until that information would be filled in.
Right, so we can't get out of prospect mode moving forward into another stage of the sales funnel, you mean, right? Moving
Correct.
forward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I don't see any problems with this, Evan. I think this is what we were trying to achieve, right?
I believe it was. Obviously, it's not on the client. You're not getting this. The only difference is the note here, in red that pops up, doesn't pop up on the organization.
Okay.
But that's the only difference.
Everybody's going to get to know where to put their data, as long as. But you're saying that it's right here on the client master page.
Yes.
The data, all the things we want. Okay.
Most of like for instance, this AKA field, which so part of this is it's adding in what's the field name versus the friendly name, which is why this says FK contact ID primary, which is your primary contact. If you want, I can put like a key up here for you.
Yeah.
Like a right-hand corner, make it a little easier. But some of that stuff, like your address fields and things like that we could put this on. And Cameron, correct me if I'm wrong. We can add that to any field on the organization.
The hard error?
Yeah, it's the generate. It's the generate. I think it generate a hard error on the organization field or something.
Yes.
I forget the method name.
Yep.
Okay, cool. But yeah, so we could do that. So the address field, city, postal code, these pieces these are all coming from the organization. So we can put them on here. The primary contact didn't come through right over into this side, but it's still in the organization where they would be able to fill it out.
Okay. That sounds like that'll work. So
okay.
In essence, all the boxes or all the fields we put on the Excel spreadsheet, we kind of jumble them all together and said that's going on the organizational detail, other info tab. All those same fields are now going to just be required over here, essentially.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. That works.
All right. Excellent. So from here, let me just fill out some information to kind of push it along a little bit. So we have that. So I'm going to go.
I guess just a further thought on it is, so you have the client master, you have the hard errors, and you cannot click on proposal until those hard errors are fixed.
So you won't be able to continue the workflow, and in the approve stage is when I will have these appearing dependently. I wasn't able to get to those links yet. Those are very, very quick though.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, those I go in, it takes me about 2 minutes to do. Okay, let me get this here. Just want to add in that information so those errors go away. So we're going to go with an ASO bronze. We'll just say that's going to be our contract type. And so we are going to submit. Oh, that's right. It hasn't been updated. Just refreshing the page. Sorry. It's only because I have two of these open at one time and I keep going back and forth. There we go. So now I know that you guys also had an issue with the address and stuff that you wanted filled in. So there's obviously the address on the organization, but there's also a location that we have set up for it as well. And the location, the client location, is going to be more specific to like where, for instance, putting employees under that, things like that as you guys expand and do other things. So in the client locations area, so it requires a location code, and that location code is on the location here, which is a main location. It gets defaulted from the information that's been put on the organization. So obviously we didn't fill out any of the address fields, so those are not filled out. But it requires this location code here, which they'd have to put in. In order for them to actually fill this out, so if we just said main was our location code, they also have to fill out the address information.
All right, sounds good.
And that is
Donna
also...
just walked.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Evan.
Hey, Donna, how are you?
Super.
So Evan's worked on a little bit of a
He did?
solution for us.
Oh, right on.
So it's the client master,
Is that what we're
essentially,
gonna put in?
where the client profile is.
Mhm.
So on that client master page, you have basically a duplicate of all the organizational detail information over there. So
Will it auto-populate?
He's-
to the-
gonna have a hard error right there on that page
Okay.
before they can go forward to the next sales stage. So they can't submit or anything else. So in essence, it's going to, if they put it there, it links over to organizational
Oh, it
detail.
does link over?
Yeah,
Yay.
yeah.
Way to go, Evan.
Thank you. I had to look through some of our much older stuff, and I was like, I know there's something here. I just kept digging.
I love it.
So we are in much better shape now.
Awesome.
So actually, Donna, just to bring you up to speed, what I was going through now was so I know that the address fields on the organization right here, these are all those are great and stuff, but we also, we could put hard arrows on those as well, but we also have a client location data form that ends up getting produced, so that whenever, if you guys were to go start getting into more risk related things and you had actual employee profiles and stuff, if you started doing that, you would need a location to say that this employee works at this location. Obviously, well, this is what that data form is, and so the hard error that's on that's over here on your client master requiring a location code, they have to go over to the location here, and if they enter this code in, that's the requirement, but they also, to save this, have to fill out the rest of the information. So it would force any salespeople or anybody to fill out a whole location information for you.
No, I like it because that really makes them think about what are they trying to achieve with location. The question I have is there a default where we can have a drop down for location name where it's just main is one of them or something? Or
main is one, but it's a text field. So if you wanted to change it to something else, you can. It takes literally any kind of characters and things like that in here.
Yeah.
The reason why it's main is because this auto generates upon creating the workspace, so that you have some kind of a location file in there. However, this just auto generates with the main in there, but you can change it at any time.
It does. Oh, it does. That's okay. Got it. So they'll come over here, they'll see that it's got main already populated. That's cool. Okay.
In addition to this, this is one of the parts I think is awesome about this. We not only include the physical address, we also include the billing address, which you can make same as the physical address, same as the mailing address, or you can just do a manual entry and it opens all these up for you.
Okay.
And so whenever we put the physical, it just defaults and pulls all of that information right over there immediately.
All right.
All right, we'll just do an apply here and then look at our data. So our location here, we also have delivery methods, so like UPS AM, UPS PM, all that kind of stuff. This is stuff that's fun to look through. Also, the primary contact for the location, definitely think about in the way of the primary contact for at that physical location that you might want to get in contact with.
Got it.
But, just kind of think about things in those sort of regard, and it definitely helps add that much more information and complexity to your system that makes it easier whenever you need to reference stuff. But we'll go on ahead and get out of that since we've fixed that, and then we'll go back to our client master, and let's click apply just to do a save.
Evan, for navigation purposes, do you pretty much, when you're going back up several levels, do you always default go over to the left and X out the screens that you open that way? Because I noticed you kind of
Yeah, so
closed
what I
up.
usually do, I go down and I continue down into complexity as long as I know that it's there's like certain parts of the systems that are going to become hubs for you. So like for instance, for most salespeople, keeping organizations open and keeping a workspace open like this is going to become
Yeah.
this huge hub area. So they're always going to be referencing back to here. So usually
Yeah.
what I will do is if I have something like that, I'll get down in complexity and go back up. And I only exit out of things I know I don't need to go back to. So it's
All
about
right.
the day. If you're working in just locations for one part of the day and then employees for another part of the day, or in something else, that's usually I would have location stuff coming up constantly, or different things like that.
Okay.
But from here we can submit. And so now that it's allowed us to submit, it's I'll wait for it to load. So now we're in the underwriting stage, but we have yet to put any pricing in. So we go click over here to the pricing console. So over here, obviously we have nothing. And I remember we talked about yesterday, we just add a state and code. This part, we just fill in general information. Obviously you guys are doing 8810 related for everything. If you wanted
So Evan, quick question, Evan. So we're in underwriting mode. That means manager's already been notified?
No, so in this case, I believe it was, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys were wanting this set up where managers are notified only when it's special pricing, right?
Correct.
And
So,
on all PDOs.
And all POs, yeah.
right. So because we haven't actually hit the stage of needing like special pricing, and this also isn't a PEO, nobody would have been notified yet except for a salesperson, but they're also the ones who would have pushed it through.
Perfect. Go ahead.
All right, so we'll just put in a standard California 8810. We'll just do it easy like that. The reason why the gross payroll, full-time, part-time, we still leaving that in there even though it's an ASO. It's just for admin fees. If you're wanting to do a PEPM, you'll need employee counts, stuff like that. So we'll just say we got that. And we'll save, and that just adds it in there. We get this button over here. It says generate pricing. So we'll just click that real quick. All right, and then we click OK, and this whole page is going to refresh for us. And this part of everything can be done in the previous prospecting stage as well. And so now we have this pricing that obviously we've gone through this before with you guys. We saw it yesterday, but we also have down here in the surcharges. So we have right here, I know that you guys were talking about wanting, so default all those surcharges, and then they can take them out as needed. So this is where we're at. We will have all of them defaulting in, but we put in here an ASO core, and this ASO core is just simply a hub. It's just to simply say that the whole ASO package has been added. So those other surcharges will be in there as well. And this is just going to be one of those that we put in there that's, it just lets them know that that standard package is what's been added. And we also have a PEO one that would generate on a PEO contract type as well.
Okay.
All right, so any questions about this part so far?
Well, yeah, I think, so I'm not sure the sales team is going to understand that part of it. And so they're going to look at this thing, ASO core.
There will be more surcharges in here.
Extra. Huh?
There will be more surcharges in here, like the ones you listed out.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll appear in here as well.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry
With
about
the
that.
labels we're talking about, right?
Yeah, this is only in here as, like, they'll see this as the ASO core, but then below that they'll see like the all of the different surcharges.
Okay, because the ASO core is basically the trigger for all these other things to be added.
Yes.
Is that the key?
Yeah, so you'll see something like let me add these in here. So it'll look more like this.
All the stuff.
So you'll see the ASO core. Yeah.
It's all there. We're going to pack it in.
And they have to take it out.
And if they choose not to take it, then they click the button.
So if a salesperson accidentally generates a proposal and it's
really
got all
low
that
price.
extra stuff in there, well then the client will just remind that salesperson, hey, I didn't want the timekeeping or the hiring, please take that out, or they'll just figure out the math and be like, yeah.
Okay.
So then that way the salesperson could never forget to include the upgrades to the proposal. Right. So that way, worst case scenario, salesperson will be subtracting things from the proposal and lowering pricing instead of trying to go the other way, going up in price.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So doing the form, be like, oh,
Right.
that's right, you wanted this, could be more.
Yeah. Okay, Evan, we're good.
Awesome. Alrighty. And so from here, now we have our batch has been created. So let's just say for some reason, let's say I as a salesperson am going, hey, you know what? I want to give, like some kind of a special pricing, and let's just say I want it to be like this is a bronze package, but let's say I wanted to give them I don't know, some kind of a thing. So I don't know what you guys would permit or anything, but let's just say
Customize.
The what?
Custom, like a customized integration, API integration.
And there we go. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right. So I add my notes in here, comments and notes. I just click a plus, and I also check this request special pricing, and then I just apply it here, or save it, either one. All right, and so now that this has happened, we have my note in here. It's time-stamped as to who it is that went in here, what date and what time they went in. And so if we go back to the pricing console in here, let me back out further to the client master and refresh it. Let me see, where's that at? Should have had an approval generate for you guys. Let me just check and make sure that's on.
Next to her. Just over there.
No, it was really, it looks like.
Well, those just generated a minute ago. So whenever that happens, the approval button that the salesperson will be able to see will disappear. And then an approval record will appear only for an executive or person that you guys deem should be allowed to approve a special pricing. So they'll have those notes in there to reference for the pricing. And then from that point, then whoever your manager is or whoever you're assigned to is. I think, Patrick, you have it right now where we just assign them all to you or the executives.
Yep.
So then you would just go in and you would make your pricing, and we'll make sure to give you training on going through the whole pricing console piece by piece and everything too with videos. But yeah, you would go in, make your pricing and everything like that, and then you would approve your record, and then upon approving the record, upon approving the record, it's going to send the actual status of everything into approved, and from there's not as much going on. However, then it's in that approved status that those links for generating proposals, CSAs, stuff like that. At that point, that's when that would end up. That's when that would all end up appearing. They would have the ability to look through that kind of stuff, and then they would be able to continue moving from there with actually like sending out the proposal and everything. They can attach it to collateral. It's up to you guys if you want. Like, you guys have looked at our collateral page, right?
I have not.
I have not.
No.
Okay, so we have this, which is for your document storage. However, I wanted to check with you guys as to what we have standard out of the box. Just here's a benefits document, risk document, other document. We obviously can add more in here and make it more for you. These are just 3 example ones we keep in here, but I wanted to know what you guys were wanting in here, because I know some people, the CSA proposals are sometimes the same thing, sometimes they're different. So if you guys want, if you already know the list, I could write it down now. Otherwise, you guys could just add it to the case, and I'll just add it in there whenever I get that from you.
So Evan, on risk documents, what is a risk document?
So risk documents are usually for like in our risk module, if you have, let's say they have a client policy, and so that's how they're doing that. People might add in their own client policy, or if you had, for instance, an MCP in here, that might be added in. If they had,
that's what I was thinking. So I'm almost, yeah, so risk documents is related to workers' comp mostly, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, risk documents are, yeah, we keep that for our workers' comp module.
Okay.
We usually, yeah, that's the best, that's like the best practices in area and everything like that, just because it keeps everything consolidated for you, and especially when you know you're using that part of the system.
So okay, I think I might have didn't hear you, but so for workers' comp documents, that's saved under the workers' comp section.
Mm-hmm.
Those documents, okay, not here.
You said the workers' comp documents would be saved under the workers' comp.
Like a workers' comp declaration page, a workers' comp accord form, workers' comp loss runs. Where are those all stored? Under the workers' comp section?
Hey guys, this is Cameron. Yes, and I'm a senior implementation. I haven't met you guys yet. I mean, Evan invited me to provide some insight if necessary.
No worries.
So if it's client-specific workers' comp documents, they'll be stored here. And what we would actually want to do is create a field for each one of those documents. So if you're collecting 3 years of loss runs, we'll create a field here called 3 years loss runs, and then we can create hard errors to say require this upon submit, require this upon this, and so forth. So the few fields you see here, they're just stubbed to show you kind of what is needed, because every client we've worked with requires different documents at different stages. So we really build this out how you guys will need it.
All right. So we could leave risk.
So forth.
We could leave risk, we could leave benefits, we could leave other, and then we'll just add specific ones just in case the risk deals with OSHA docs or whatever the heck else there's out there that we're not thinking of. And those can go in that folder. But yeah, we just definitely want to add right off the top workers. Like I would say we almost have to call probably each folder like W/C, so like workers comp. And then we put it as accord form or declarations. The first one would be WC deck pages or declarations. The second one would be WC loss runs. It's going to be 5 years. So we're going to say 5 years, WC 5-year loss runs. Because the underwriters, they just say that 3 years doesn't always make it work. So we go 5 just to be safe.
Gotcha.
And then the third one is the WC accord forms. So all cap ACORD, and then just regular letters forms. So if we have those 3 things, I think we could accomplish a lot with the rest of these folders that you guys got here.
Okay, and so that's, assuming that's for your risk section. Did you want a CSA section and a proposal as well?
Yeah, because if we create several proposals back and forth, we probably want a log of what were those in the past, right?
Right. Yeah, and each one of these fields will save a document in versions as well.
Good. Okay. and the documents are kind of locked, you know, here where they're not editable, or is everything editable out here? Or do you have to download, edit, then upload new version?
So this is for uploading only, uploading and downloading. So
Okay.
in here, if you add in a document, you can categorize it and everything, but you can't actually do any editing
Got
in
it.
the document here.
So it's locked. It's basically locked. Yeah, that's perfect, because we would want to make sure that whatever information is in here is preserved and not, you know, edited for any reason. So then what you're saying, Evan, is that we would have inside like we would have 3 subfolders under risk documents. Is that what you're saying? For workers' comp?
No. So the risk document is the field that you would store a kind of document in. So for instance, your accord forms, you would probably have a like what you just said, like you said, the WC accord forms, you would have that title here instead. And then that would be where you would store all of your accords for that, or the accord for that specific client, because these are all contained individually within the workspace.
Yeah, because I want risk documents to stay, because if there's OSHA-related stuff or anything else we're forgetting about that relates to risk, I don't want to change that name.
Perfect.
Yeah. So
okay.
Then if I'm totally tracking with you, you're saying you'll add 3 new fields under deal documents, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That makes sense.
And for the deal documents section, would you guys prefer to have a risk section to keep all the other risk documents instead of keeping them in a deal documents, what we call field set right here?
Yeah. Now we want all our docs like right here. That's fine, so we don't get lost in navigation.
All right.
Collateral.
So let me see here. All right. And so we'll get that set up for you then. And was there, okay, so did we have any questions about anything else I went through so far?
No, we're just, let's continue to move forward then on the.
Okay. So from this point, it's basically just they finish out this document, and then let's see, and then so from here, we could put collateral if we wanted to say, like, from the client master have some hard errors or something like that says like a CSA is required, like that document being uploaded in there is required at a certain stage or something like that, we can add that as well. So if you had any required documents you want before it goes out of the underwriting status or out of the approved status, we can also have that. And outside of that, I mean, the system, that's about the end of sales for the most part, because then you just, that puts you into implementation.
So I didn't feel like we really finished the pricing console, did we, guys? I mean,
It
seemed like it was sort of, it seemed like we sort of touched and went, you know, it was like a touch and go on pricing console, where we just kind of went through it so quick and then we were off of it, but we didn't really see how it came together with the pricing. And the other thing that I'm just thinking of as you're mentioning additional stuff, or how we can have things happen with, you know, like required documents, I'm thinking that if the client, if it is like a PEO plan that they're interested in getting a proposal on, then we need a hard error on docs somehow for definitely, like, I would say, you know, benefits information. We probably want something uploaded for benefits, and then some kind of benefit docs, whatever they can collect, to give us an analysis of what benefit plans they have. There's thousands of different benefit plans out there, so I don't know how we could do anything other than, you know, make a cookie cutter process of, you know, send us whatever benefit docs you got so we can see it, like I don't know, maybe the risk assessment factor, you know, like a letter saying what their RAF is. You tracking with me?
Yeah, I'm just thinking through that. Let me see. Cameron, do you have any recommendations? I know that you've done a little more of this than I have.
Hey, sorry, this is Laura here. I'm
Hi.
an implementation consultant in training here, and Cam actually had to hop off.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah, so for that, Patrick, I don't want to give you any definite answers right now because I want to do more exploring to make sure I can find out what would work best for that. If you could you add something to the case for me with just the kind of general gist, because I want to be able to bring that to other people as well, just figure out what other things.
The general gist is you said that you can set a requirement for docs being required to be uploaded before underwriting approval is done or something?
Yeah, so we can do a require the field upon like a trigger of a certain status. So so before like they hit submit, it could be a required thing, as an example. So yeah, based on the stages, we can produce different requirements for that collateral form.
The only thing I'm thinking is that sometimes clients want PEO workers' comp with they don't offer benefits, or they want PEO, workers' comp and benefits. So it's maybe just workers' comp by itself or both. And I don't know how we would really be able, I guess we would just reject, quoting out the full proposal. What I'm thinking is probably the best place is forget the documents they can upload. I mean, because you can't require the workers' comp docs unless we know for sure workers' comp is going to be involved. So I don't know if the system would link back over to maybe the surcharges section on pricing console. And then where maybe we can add a couple of surcharges, for instance, like group benefits surcharge and workers' comp surcharge. We don't know enough about the system to know where that would go. But we would need to know if there's a PEO coming through the, underwriting. PEO spells out minimum workers' comp to us. So I guess maybe we don't need that as a surcharge item because of that. But then when we're trying to, figure out an approval for that salesperson, the only way we can get workers' comp pricing is if they give us those documents. They don't get us loss runs. They don't get us an accord form. They don't get us declaration pages. We can't approve a proposal for that salesperson because we don't have what we need.
Then how about this? I will take that and do some research on how to make those kinds of dependencies that would work for that in the system.
Yeah.
And then I will get back to you. Because next week I was hoping to do a more detailed run through of the reason why the pricing console was skinnier this time, and we haven't really dived into it, is because the pricing console is one of those areas we almost have to make our own meeting out of it, because there's just a lot in there that we need to go through to make sure that you guys understand, and make sure that also there's a video that while we're going through it and you're asking questions, that it's recorded so that when you reference it, you have enough content to go back and go, okay, I remember when we went through that part.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so see if they choose a PEO plan, then see if you can make it a requirement on the docs for the workers' comp declarations, the workers' comp loss runs, the workers' comp accord forms. See if you can tie those together, because all three of those docs would need to be required if they chose PEO. Minimum, we need that information.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll see what I can do about getting something like that set up for you.
The other thing is then we would need a census, Donna,
Mhm.
for the group benefits side.
And are we even addressing 401K?
Well, we might, yeah.
Wouldn't that be in the deals? Would that be in the deals?
It's, you know, they would probably want to see that it's, well, it's part of the package, I
You know
guess,
what, we
right?
need an
It's part of the platinum
census
package.
regardless of what, even if it's base, so.
We need
We
that
need important
master
information.
census.
Even when we're
But-
quoting it,
but-
they want us to quote them health benefits.
Yeah, I'm just thinking we definitely need a census if we're quoting, but it's
In
gonna be
any
a
case.
crunched census version.
Yeah, pay for it.
Right, okay. So what we're going to do is, I don't know, Evan, for as far as like group, again, PEO, and if they say, you know, surcharge, I think it would have to go surcharge for group benefits on PEO. So can you make a surcharge for that? So that way it triggers us to know that we need to price in group benefits, or how does that work in your system?
Possibly. So it gets a little tricky. We could possibly add a surcharge in there that's just a general benefits thing like that. Obviously, it won't contain an intense amount of like actual benefits pricing information, because benefits pricing information. I'm sorry.
Yeah, almost like nothing except for the fact that the client wants the benefits. We've got it. We've noted it under surcharges that that's going to be a whole build out of group benefits pricing is what I'm trying to figure out here. How can we trigger it that way? Yeah.
Well, the surcharges would give just a general amount, not a lot of information, like I said. And the reason why is because we have benefits pricing, like section of the system, but I believe it's part of our benefits module. And so that would be implemented with like as its own module and everything.
Well, we have the Prism benefits module.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't.
Talking about a separate Pulse module?
Yeah, Pulse has its own, like the way that we have a whole pricing setup in here for just the sales and general stuff. We also have it's slightly more reduced. It's not quite this intense, but we have a benefits pricing that allows you to track benefits batches, renew them, and things like that as well. It's not granular for an employee level like the Prism side is, the payroll side is, but yeah, well, we do have this over here.
So there, it's a part. Is it an extra charge for that module, or you're just saying it's something that we got to work on building out?
Honestly, that right off, I believe it is, because it would be a separate module.
Yeah.
That would be definitely something to talk to your account manager or like a CSM with, because they would be able to give you better information on that than I can.
Yeah.
I think your CSM is Ben, I think, right?
Don't even know. Yeah,
I can find out and have him reach out to you if you'd like.
Yeah, have him reach out to us. What about the workers' comp module as well? Is that a part of the benefits, or is that another separate module?
It's a separate module, because for us, we also, in that risk module, we do claims tracking. We go through claims tracking. You have individual employee employment information. That's something, but that one's really intense. You can do a lot more with it for sure.
Claims tracking.
Mm-hmm.
So none of that's done in the Prism system?
I don't believe Prism on the Prism payroll side of it that there's any claims related things.
Okay.
I think I believe, to my knowledge, I mean, I only work on the ClientSpace Pulse side. So
Yeah.
I don't have as much information as I'd like to be able to for you on that.
All right. So we're going to have to, talk to Ben to figure out how the future will be, figuring those things out. So that way we know the general gist of it, so we can figure that out later.
Absolutely.
Because now I'm thinking about for the document part of it, we do have Metro Coast that we can run. If the docs are uploaded here and required, then at least we know that it can go to Metro Coast. Yeah, for state of California, at least to start. All right, I'm just trying to think on the required doc side of things. So if it gets kind of to where we're trying to figure it out for how we can make this work just temporarily to patch it up. On the
fastest thing for you guys, if you were to give me a minimal required doc list that just tells me, like, hey, no matter what the contract type is, we want these docs, that would be the fastest list of requirements. I could definitely get up there for you.
All right, yeah, so just make a note, Donna, for the PEO, it's going to be those 3 docs that you already wrote down, right? So that's PEO. If they're going PEO, they must have that. Okay, those are a must that they have to upload to get a full, proposal under the PEO. Yeah. Then for the group benefits, if they want that too, then they must upload a census for group benefits. So let's just make a note that it's got to be like a census, group benefits census for PEO, and it's like it's somehow the only thing we're trying to figure out, Evan, is how to tell you we want a trigger for the group benefit census. How is the salesperson going to tell us, other than just adding a quick little surcharge, is what I'm thinking, at 0.00 or something. Like, you know what I mean? Billing rate 0. Yeah.
And that's one of the things I wanna get back to you on for figuring that out.
Okay. Yeah, because that's going to be the group benefits component. So we're gonna respond to the case. You want a new case on this?
Yeah, if you want to, that would probably keep it. That would keep it a little more segregated.
So we'll do
easier for us, but
we'll do a new case, and we're just gonna suggest that we're thinking some additional surcharge at a 0 cost for for definitely group benefits. So that way we have a heads up on that one. And and we'll kind of throw some additional details in there like that.
Okay.
All right. So do we have anything else that you want to cover before I ask you a quick question?
Nope, that was about it on my part, because next week we'll be getting into the pricing console, and then we'll also be working into security towards the end of that conversation.
Okay. And if you can accelerate it and we can meet earlier, is that possible?
I'm absolutely going to do my best. And just like yesterday, even if it's a day earlier, I'm going to keep trying to push and find out every available time to be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, today's Tuesday, so it'd be awesome if we could just try to move forward on that this week.
I'm going to try to push to get that.
Yeah, because we're potentially just going to be putting out a marketing campaign out on the internet, so we want to make sure when the phones are ringing, people actually know how to create proposals. So
absolutely.
That's what's tying everything up. So one question I have is, if we have a broker that we are getting involved, to, the client has a broker and they want to work with that broker, or we find a broker that we have an alliance with and that broker is sending us clients, how does that work in the system? And it goes the same way for a CPA firm too, is what we're thinking.
So we have a broker portal system.
Yeah.
However, and that would work more for the way a broker comes in, adds in a lead or something like that to your system and kind of gets in, gets out. Let me do a little more to figure out, because don't quote me, because I'm trying to, I don't know for sure, but I might be able to see. I don't think that there's any additional charges, just a setup fee type thing for whatever the work obviously
I saw
is.
that you have contacts over here, and it's labeled broker. Trying to figure out how
Yeah.
that works. That's what I'm trying to do.
So contacts-wise, so you can create a user in here similar to a sales user, and we can just design it as a broker user, and all they have access to is just to add leads into the system. And so they can't hurt anything, and the only leads they can add are the ones that they create.
We're not looking for that. What we're looking for is there's an organization that we put in the system, and that organization has a broker tied to it, and we just want to identify who that broker is, because the broker might be a main contact.
Oh, that's even easier. Oh, okay. So if you have a broker, and let's say, so you mean like as like a primary contact for the org?
No, for the broker, no, not for the insurance.
Yeah, it's going to be additional contact. I wouldn't say it's the primary contact. It may not work out as primary, yeah.
You can, honestly, you could add a contact within, like from the org right here.
Through this, because this is just where I tried to play around with this and I was lost.
Okay, so if I'm going to add a broker in here, let's say I'm adding it for specifically our test sales right here. So we'll just say this is broker guy, and then job title, we could just say broker or whatever you want to fill in there. And then you can fill out any other bits of information here, but we have a category as well. Like, for instance, this is their relationship to the company. So this is the contact's relationship to the company. So if you added a CEO in here, they're like a decision maker or things like that. So adding that information there is also helpful for reporting stuff. And then that's the gist of this. But where's our... trying to figure out where that broker piece is to this. Yeah, because I know that we can set up your brokerage. We can set up a brokerage organization in here. And I believe the contacts that you fill in that are connected to this brokerage organization, I think will show up as brokers as contacts you can select.
And you can see why we're confused.
So,
guidance on how to.
So this is where I have to expand your minds a little on what our organizations do. So whenever you guys have, remember when I showed you how an organization can not only be for your clients, it can also be a carrier.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with brokers.
Okay.
That's
do you have
how.
CPAs in there too?
I mean, we could add it in there if you wanted to, because we can add more lookups right here if you wanted to.
Well, what's the rest of the list? Just scroll down. Yeah, let's just see what else you got on there.
So we have brokers, clients, partners, TPA, alternative vendors, others.
Okay. All right.
We can take vendor out, put CPA in.
Nah, we'll leave vendor in. So just click on broker. And let's walk through this, how to add a broker then.
So you would add a broker the same way that you would add any other kind of an organization, where you would just add the phone number, name, different pieces in here like this. However, where the differences would start to align is that you can stop here and have your brokerage information here. You can add contacts to this. You can add contacts here, and they would be brokers obviously within there, but then you can also add, if you're wanting to take a step further and add special users that would be able to interact with the system, then you would have a broker portal set up. But from what you guys are talking, you just want contacts that are brokers so that they're
we just need to identify who our brokers are and who the broker teams are, because if the broker has 10 brokers under them or the CPA has 10 CPAs under them, we want it all to be a part of that organization, I guess.
Right, so you would create the brokerage organization by just filling this information in, and then just adding, and then you would add contacts to this organization.
Okay. And then each contact is, now it says assigned to, so, yeah, so now Donna's asking, so if it's a broker, what does that mean of the broker assigned to? Is it
So-
assigned to whoever the salesperson is?
So the assigned to would be kind of like, for instance, Patrick, let's just say that you're the person that interacts with the brokerage that you guys are working with.
Yep.
That would be your primary connection, so it would be assigned to you.
Okay.
So you would want it to be
All right.
assigned to the person who's going to be interacting with them the most.
So then my next question is, if we build out the sales team, they're all going through this system, they're adding their leads, they're adding brokers and, sub-brokers on brokers. Another salesperson can't see what, another salesperson's entered in the system, right? It's just what's assigned to you is what you see
So
as a salesperson here?
So yes and no. That would be part of our security discussion, because we can have it to where your salespeople can see everything in each other's, or they can only see what they've created, or they can only see what they've been assigned to. So that's that's customizable as to what you guys prefer.
Yeah. Yeah, we want the sales team just to see what they're assigned to for regular sales reps. Yeah.
We'll definitely have a full-blown conversation to lock down all the right pieces of the system, especially when it comes to salespeople and all that kind of stuff. We know that especially is going to be needed.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good. Thanks, Evan.
Of course. I will take these notes. I'm going to get it back, and then I will get back to you guys as soon as I'm ready for us to get into another topic, and hopefully before next Tuesday.
Perfect. Appreciate it.
All righty. Thank you guys so much.